right, I'm waiting for the nod from Colin. And there's the nod, okay. Well, hello everyone. Thanks for making this a great day for all of us here. Clark University Hall of Fame is something very special to us. I am Kurt Long, Clark's athletic director, and it is with great pride and excitement that I welcome you and thank you for coming to Clark's Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I think I can take my mask off now. 4 former outstanding athletes and a contributor will be honored and inducted today. These 5 individuals accepted the challenge, put in the work, and provided the Clark community with an inspirational example in leadership in athletics. I would like to begin the ceremony with a prayer from Clark University Vice President of Student Life, Kate Zeiser.
Good morning. You can bow your head. Strong and caring God, you have blessed Clark University with talented athletes and contributors. This morning, as some are inducted into this Hall of Fame, we are mindful of the words of St. Paul when he speaks about those who have run the good race and fought the good fight. These athletes and contributors have done that, and they deserve their reward today. May those who are recognized for their success appreciate that the talents they enjoy and the fame they receive are gifts to be humbly returned to you and to the service of your people. Bless them and each one of us with a persevering spirit to become the best that you call us to be. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Kate. At this time, I'd like to welcome our president, Dr. Tom Chesney, to welcome you all.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, everyone, for coming still this morning, right? 11 events ahead of me today. Some of you probably have even more than that. It says in your program, I'm going to share a few remarks, and I do want to keep it brief. But this particular event, amongst all of those that are happening today, really strikes close to home and resonates for me as a student athlete myself once upon a time from 1984 to 1988. As I've shared with our current student athletes, many of them, as they prepare to practice, compete, and excel in something that they love, but they know is smaller than the calling before them. I often say, were it not for that experience that I had and the support of others who helped ensure that it would happen, I would not be standing before you and in this role today. For any of us who've had a chance to participate as a student athlete, we know the way in which it complements and brings together the learning experience that we have in the classroom. The critical thinking that comes in having to decide, where do I go next and what do I do next, so that someone else might score or defend or block or set or do whatever it takes for us to work together as a team. That then is carried forward in life. Those experiences where the same things are asked of us. What will you do? How will you do it? And how much of it can you give in service to others? The honorees today, as contributors and as athletes, are leaders who continue to grow in their leadership capacity, educators in whatever role that they do, that they bring forward from their experiences in a relationship with Clark that continues to bring forward our core values of education, justice, freedom, and charity. So this is a special tribute. These are special honors. To go into a Hall of Fame, something I will never do as an athlete, is more than being recognized as an athlete. It's being recognized as a human contributor to a much greater world. Congratulations to our recipients, and thank you to those who recognize and nominate them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. We are delighted to honor individuals who are an important part of the history of Clark University athletics. Clark has offered intercollegiate athletics since 1974, when Jane Zanetti guided the first women's basketball program to a 6-9 record. Clark University Athletics Hall of Fame today inducts its 10th class after 47 years of intercollegiate sports. For those of you that haven't followed Clark Athletics for a few recent years, we now have 21 intercollegiate sports. We are currently in our 6th year of full membership to the NAIA's Heart of America Athletic Conference. Clark was a member of the NAIA from 1989 to 1995, joined the NCAA in the fall of 1995, and then returned to the NAIA in 2007. The process of organizing and developing criteria for Hall of Fame induction and the nomination and selection process is informative and rewarding for all who serve on the committee. And I would like to thank the people who were instrumental in the organization of this event. I would also like to recognize the Hall of Famers that are present today. Would you please stand? Sister Catherine Dunn, member of the Hall of Fame. And Rick Arrington, former tennis coach and golf coach at Clark. Clark University and the Athletics Hall of Fame are pleased to honor Alex Arrowsmith, Cody Chamberlain, Melissa Myers, John O'Connor, and Jerry Zeiser. These former student athletes and contributor are being recognized for their significant contributions and influence on Clark athletics and the campus community. Each inductee will be permanently recognized in the Hall of Fame display in the Kiel Center and will be given a tributary plaque to commemorate this special occasion. The honor of induction to the Hall of Fame is the highest athletic honor bestowed by Clark University. Individuals inducted into the Hall of Fame must have demonstrated outstanding athletic achievement or significant and consistent contribution to the athletics program. They must be persons of high moral character, fine leadership ability, and must be held in high esteem by colleagues, coaches, athletes, and the Clark community. Each inductee will be introduced by a person they have chosen. And I'd like to bring Bridget Goldbeck to the podium. Please, when you're coming down, be careful on the steps. Bridget is going to introduce Alex Arrowsmith, and then we're going to get Alex's video on the big board. So, Bridget Goldbeck.
Thank you, Kurt. Good morning, everyone. As Kurt said, my name is Bridget Goldbeck, and I'm a 2009 Clark graduate. It's a true honor to be here to pay tribute to an outstanding Clark athlete, my best friend, Alex. I was originally going to record a video introduction that would be shared with everyone. I'm so happy I could be here in person, but I will say, Alex and I had a really good laugh the other night, sending each other our outtakes from our recording attempts. Clark Soccer brought Alex and I together in the fall of 2005. My freshman year roommate was part of the soccer team, and I quickly got to know most of the players on the men's and women's teams. I remember being in awe of Alex's skills on the field, and her talent was intimidating. Although I had no idea just how accomplished she was in her time at Clark until I read her bio in preparation for this ceremony. The fact that she started every single game, was the MVP in her senior year, and was third in goals and shots on goal is not at all surprising to me. She was an excellent leader who was dedicated to the game of soccer. She was well respected by her teammates and coaches, and as new players joined the team each year, they looked to her as a role model. Some of my happiest memories at Clark involve Alex and the soccer teams. During my time at Clark, I spent every fall Saturday afternoon sitting on the hill, watching Alex play in her bright yellow banana shoes, at times with her dog Kobe by my side. I even recall traveling to an away game or two to cheer her on. Her most loyal fans were always her parents. I have a hard time remembering a home game when they were not there, her dad with his giant camera taking way too many pictures. It was evident to everyone how proud they were of their talented daughter. Although her dad is no longer with us, I can say with absolute certainty that both of her parents are still immensely proud of her. When we first met, Alex impressed me on the soccer field, and she continues to impress me on a regular basis off the field. She was and still is a fierce competitor. I look forward to the weeks that we face off in fantasy football against each other. She's a dedicated wife and mother, and she's the most loyal friend. It's been such a pleasure to watch her become a parent and watch her pass her soccer skills down to her 2-year-old daughter, Mila, who already kicks better than I do, by the way. I'm so grateful Clark Soccer helped us find each other. I cannot think of anyone who deserves this honor more than my best friend. I'm sad she and her family can't be here in person today to celebrate, but I'm grateful for this opportunity to acknowledge her accomplishments. Alex, you will always be one of my favorite soccer players, right up there with my brother and Becky Sauerbrunn. Congratulations to you on this well-deserved recognition.
Hi, everybody. Greetings from Columbus, Ohio. Really sad that I can't be there today to partake in this day with everybody in person, but huge shout out to Kurt Long and the rest of the athletic staff at Clark for accommodating me and letting me do this virtually so I can still feel part of the day with you all. Just another huge thank you to Kurt and the rest of the Clark athletic staff for putting this day on in general. It's been a lot of work on their end, I know, and we really appreciate it. I knew Kurt and a few other of the staff from my days at Clark, and it really is amazing to see how many years later, all the dedication that they are still giving all the student athletes. So that's really amazing to see. Next, the rest of the thank yous, first and foremost has got to be the one and only Pat Herbst. Pat was the soccer coach my freshman, sophomore, and senior year freshman, sophomore, and junior year at Clark. He was the guy that got me to Clark in the first place. I believe it was a soccer tournament in the summer at Muscatine, Iowa, some recruiting tournament. Pat must have seen something that he liked in me and wanted me to bring that to Clark, and I got a letter, and the rest is history. So thank you, Pat, for starting my journey with Clark right there. It really was a pleasure to play under you, and we were all sad to see you go and move on, but just know that we had a great time. I know our girls team had a great time with you, and we'll never forget that. So thank you to you, Pat. Next, I wanted to thank Sean Esterhuizen. Sean was the coach my senior year, and I was part of the hiring committee that actually brought him on board. We interviewed multiple coaches, telephone, and then eventually in person. And as soon as I saw Sean's resume and heard him speak and saw him in person, I just knew that he was the right man for the job. Him and I had an incredible chemistry. He was one of the most amazing coaches I've ever played for and had the privilege of playing for. And I was sad that we only got 1 year together. But in that year, we made a connection, and he saw something special in me. I saw something special in him, and till this day, we still connect. So, Sean, thank you so much for being a part of my Clark journey. I will never forget that year that we had together. Next, I will obviously need to thank my dad. My dad has been the biggest soccer supporter of me from day one since I was 5. He, for those of you who don't know, this past December, he passed away of brain cancer, and he would have loved to be here. He would have loved this day. He was such a big Clark soccer fan. He just would have thought this was amazing. So but he was always there throughout all my soccer ups and downs. And even though he worked full time and lived in Chicago, he made the 3-hour trip with my mom for every single home game that Clark had my senior year. So that's something truly special that I can always hang on to when I think of him and Clark soccer. I know that he's super proud of me today, even though he can't be here. And I just want to say thank you, Dad, and you know I love you. Next, my Clark soccer experience. Where to start with that? Clark soccer has been one of the most memorable experiences of my entire life. I've been a part of many soccer teams, as you know, from playing soccer for so many years. And honestly, the Clark team has been the one that has stuck with me the most. When you literally live with your team on the same campus and spend so much time together, your team becomes family and nothing less. And it just brings it to a whole new level. I've gained lifelong friendships, and the memories from Clark soccer still bring a smile and laugh to my everyday life. From 2-a-day preseason, building a shed, the 17-hour bus trip to Texas, I could go on and on and on. Clark soccer, both the women's team and the men's team, became some of the closest and most influential people in my life, and I'm forever grateful to Clark for bringing me those people. Clark in general was an experience that was life-changing for me, and I'm forever in debt to Clark for what the friendships and the way that it has carved the path of my life. So in my entire 17-year career of playing soccer, I could not imagine a better capstone to it all than being inducted to this Hall of Fame. I am truly honored, even though my career has long since ended. And this is a nice little bookend to it. My next hope is to see my 2 daughters bring the same level of heat to the soccer field that I did, maybe even someday for the Clark Pride. So everyone, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me, and know that I'm honored. Thank you.
So, hello, Alex. I know you're watching us. Thank you for sending the video. We really appreciate it. We'll give you a pass on the Ohio State shirt. Sister Joanne Burroughs, our past president, was an avid Ohio State fan, so we'll let you go on that one today. Bridget, thank you for your introduction. We want to introduce Cody Chamberlain. Cody's former coach, Steve Drexler, will introduce Cody.
Thanks, Kurt. I was a part of Cody's coaching or playing career in 2002 and 2004, his sophomore and senior season. I also was the assistant in 2005 as well, but it's nice being back on campus, and Kurt was always good to me. But I guess the one thing I think about in those years coaching Cody was his dedication and his commitment. And that didn't start right away. Looking back at his past, I know his mom and dad probably instilled that in him because he had to travel over to state to play boys volleyball because it wasn't offered here, and it's still not offered at the high school level. So he was, I'm sure he was traveling to Davenport and Cedar Rapids 2 or 3 times a week, and he played junior national volleyball all 4 years in high school, along with trying to play basketball and his schoolwork. But that's very hard to do, and when you come to Clark to play men's volleyball, it's obviously D3 school, but at the time we played in the MIVA, which was a Division I, so he saw the best every time he was on the floor to that Ohio State, IPF, Fort Wayne, Purdue, Lewis, Quincy, Ball State. I remember traveling to those schools and doing those things and just amazed at the competition. But we did a pretty good job. We hung with them. Cody's kills he had over the first 4 years, he had 711 kills, 566 digs. I mean, I can spit stats out all day, but one of the biggest things I remember Cody was his heavy arm. It sounded like a shotgun going off in the gym every time he hit the ball. And he was very coachable. I remember he would listen, and he just was a very coachable kid. And his leadership on the floor, he was always building his teammates up, and it was very fun to coach Cody, and it's an honor to be here today. And just want to bring Cody down. Come on down.
Hi, everyone. This is nerve-wracking. Much more I thought it would be. Today is definitely a day of celebration, and that's something I want to remember. My time here at Clark, I have nothing to think about or talk about except to be grateful. So talking to my best friend Kate, my partner Kenny, and preparing for today, that's all there really is to be grateful. So I have friends and family here, but really everybody to me is my family. So that's the most important thing. I want to thank Kurt and Kate and all the athletic staff here at Clark, all my coaches. I spent a lot of time in the athletic training room. Like Steve mentioned, I grew up in rural Iowa, eastern Iowa, Mechanicsville, Iowa. Some of you have heard of that, probably not. When I was 9 years old, my high school varsity volleyball team, the girls team, won the state championship. And watching that match, there's still plays and rallies in my head that I still remember from when I was that age. And that just changed my life. I was like, what is this sport? How do I play it? Where do I have to go to do it? And I told mom and dad that, and I can't even look at mom and dad. I told them that, and they did everything they possibly could to make that happen. We traveled all over the country, all over the state. In high school, I was fortunate to play baseball, varsity baseball for 4 years, football and basketball. We were ranked pretty high in the state in basketball, and I would get done with a highly competitive varsity game on a Friday night, and we would be in the car driving to Chicago for some junior national playoff or tournament or whatever it was. So lots of meals in the car, lots of homework in the back seat. So it was just a wonderful experience. So when the time came for me to pick my college and university and decide to take that next step, I had no idea what I was going to do. I didn't know about the recruiting process. How do you get to North Cedar High School only playing club volleyball to then moving and playing a college sport? And my dream was to play college volleyball. I could have played football. I could have played basketball. Even the old coach here, I can't remember his name. He even recruited me to play basketball here. So that's something that could have happened. But deep down, I knew I wanted to play volleyball. So with some recruiting trips, going to Junior Olympics, trying to get the best situation I could, Clark was where I found myself. And from the moment I came on campus, it was meant to be. from the introduction from the orientation staff to the coach at the time. Al Ronick was our coach my freshman year, and it was a really pretty interesting and amazing year to come in when I was a freshman. There was 8, 9 seniors on the team, and only 2 or 3 of us freshmen. There were some sophomores and juniors, but these seniors were out for blood. They wanted to go to the Final Four. They wanted to win the national championship and bring the first national championship back to Clark. And I worked my butt off my freshman year. I was like, I'm going to start. I'm going to be that second outside hitter, and I'm going to do it. And I did, and beat out a senior, and I'm sure he still hates me for it, but we were lucky enough to qualify for the Final Four in Massachusetts my freshman year. And I remember Coach Ronick coming up to me and Coach Fleck, and they're like, well, Cody, we made the Final Four, not having a clue how unusual that was or how special and significant that was. And I remember calling Mom and Dad, and I'm like, well, I guess we need to be in Boston like in a week and a half for a tournament. So I didn't even really know how amazing that was, but then getting there and my teammates and coaches preparing me for that and telling me how amazing that was. I also remember the Clark's athletic office had the Dubuque trolley come and take us to the airport. So that was something that was pretty cool too. So unfortunately, we were knocked out in the Final Four. In the semifinals, we were the #1 seed going in. We lost to the 4th seed, but we did win our 3rd place match. So we ended up getting 3rd in the nation there in 2001. So I think something that also I thought about in preparing for today was, college is temporary, and your time here is temporary. It's quick, but in realizing that I was lucky and honored enough to be a part of the Clark Hall of Fame, I realized how significant and how important my time here was as a student athlete. And that's exactly what I felt I did here. I was an athlete, I was a student, and it was so important to me and for my teammates and really anybody who was a student athlete here at Clark to represent our school, represent Dubuque, represent our administration, and most importantly, our fellow students and our fans and our family. And that's something that I feel like I had a true holistic experience here at Clark because of that experience that I had as a student athlete representing my school. The moment I graduated and I left Clark, I knew I achieved what I wanted to achieve. I think the most important thing, I wasn't super close to a lot of my teammates. We didn't live together, like Alex was saying. We didn't live together. All of us kind of went our separate ways after practice and after games. And what I found my home at Clark was my friends. And not many of them were student athletes. They were partiers, and they took advantage of the Dubuque bar scene, and which was fun. It was all part of the experience. But to me, that is what I hold true as my experiences as a student athlete and the friends that I made here. And some of them are still here. Molly is still here with her husband and her sister Martha and her husband Kevin and their parents, and they've been at every single one of my home games at Clark. No matter if it was a blizzard, thunderstorm, they were always there. So I thank you guys for that. I also wanted to thank anyone affiliated with the men's volleyball team. We had a lot of assistant coaches over the years. Drex was just one of my favorite coaches I've ever had all throughout any sport that I played from when I started playing when I was 5, 6 years old, whether it was baseball, football, whatever. Your role, any of these assistant coaches, athletic training staff is just so important to the success of us being out in the field or us being out in the court. There's so much that goes behind it in preparing these student athletes to succeed and be successful. I also want to say congrats to my fellow inductees and their families. When I was preparing for my time to come to Clark as a student athlete, I read somewhere or saw something somewhere that anytime a high school athlete becomes a student athlete at the college level, there is a sacrifice at some point, whether it's with them or their family and friends, and that's exactly what it is. So the families and friends that are here, you're just as much as part of this as the student athletes and the inductees. I also want to talk about not only being here at Clark and on campus, but in the city of Dubuque. Dubuque is still one of my favorite cities to come to. I've traveled all over the country. Kenny and I have been all over the country traveling. We've lived out west. We've lived in various places in the Midwest. And just coming down that hill on 151 and seeing the bridge, I'm like, there's still a part of it that feels just like home. And like Drex talked about, the MIVA was a hell of a conference. We played the highest caliber volleyball in the country, and to be able to have Ohio State and Loyola, those are two programs that have won national championships in the last 10 years at the Division I level, playing schools like BYU, Penn State, and winning, and then them coming here and playing us in conference play. So most times we got our butt kicked, but if we could grab a game from Ball State or a game from Loyola or Lewis, it was a success. So the other part that's really important to me is the foundation that I got to experience here at Clark, and the experiences that I had here led to the next level. When I left Clark, I was ready to move on. I was fortunate enough to get internships at the AVCA, USA Volleyball, and the Olympic Training Center during the 2004 Athens Games, and got to have daily meetings with Coach Karai and lots of the players of the Olympians during the 04 Games. And none of that could have happened if it wasn't for my experiences here at Clark. It just propelled me to the next step, and if anything, it just gave me so much confidence in being so familiar with that caliber of volleyball to not only be a part of it, but to also know that I had something to bring to the table and contribute in that type of environment. Not at the playing level, but at the administrative level, and being an intern and having those great experiences during the 04 Athens Games. I was also lucky enough to get a graduate assistantship at Lewis University, which is one of our rivals in the MIVA. And that just was an unreal experience. I was able to coach against some of the most well-known men's volleyball coaches in the country at UCLA and Penn State and USC and Stanford. And I would go into these games, into these matches, whether we were traveling or we were having home matches, and all the coaches would come up to me and say hi, and hey Cody, where did you go for undergrad? And I would say Clark College, and because that's what we were at the time. And every single one of them knew about Clark, and I really truly think that's because of the men's volleyball program, because we were at a national level. We didn't play in the D3 conference that a lot of our other sports played in, and that's something that I'm really proud of, that we could bring Clark to that national light. Lastly, I just want to thank my parents. Like Alex said, they're my most loyal fans, and when you're growing up in rural Iowa and tell mom and dad you want to play volleyball, it's just something that's so unusual. So I just want to thank mom and dad from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for everything you've done for me and throughout my career and my professional life and my personal life. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Steve and Cody. Cody mentioned the trolley ride way back to 2001. We're going to have a trolley ride from the tailgate to Dalzell Field today and recognize our Hall of Famers at halftime of the football game. Melissa Myers, former coach, is Rick Arrington. Rick is going to introduce Melissa.
Good morning, everybody. I'm very glad to be here and honored to be here. And just to start out, I'd like to tell you that Cody was a fan of women's tennis when I was coaching here. He was on the hillside a lot. He was an avid supporter, and he was always there, just like everybody else, and I appreciate that from Cody. I'd like to start out by recognizing and thanking and congratulating all the inductees. Alex, I need to put my glasses on, sorry. Cody, John O'Connor, Jerry Zeiser, and of course Melissa. They're all well-deserved. I serve on the Hall of Fame committee here at Clark. And for all of you out there, if you know of somebody that competed with you while here at Clark and you feel they should be nominated, you need to nominate them or get someone to nominate them, because we can't induct them until they're nominated. So please remember that for some of your teammates, okay? I appreciate it if you would do that for us, because we're always looking for quality people. Like I said, it's my honor to introduce Melissa Kratrick Myers to all of you. I had the privilege of coaching Melissa here at Clark for 3 years and at Dubuque Senior High School for 4 years. When I was looking over this and I realized that she graduated or left here 21 years ago, that made me feel a little older. I am old, but it still made me feel a little older, you know. So, like I said, I had the privilege. Melissa not only enjoyed the game of tennis, she worked at it. She worked hard at it. She was coachable, she was receptive, and she didn't like to lose. She didn't like to lose. And when she did get beat, she did get beat. I always told her, you get better by getting beat. She didn't believe me at the time, but I think she might agree with that now, because she got better as she got beat. In 3 years here at the women's tennis program, her and her teammates won 3 consecutive Northern Illinois Iowa Conference championships, winning league titles in 98, 99, and 2000. She finished her record here at Clark with a record of 74-22. That's 30 wins in singles and 11 losses, and in doubles, 44 wins and 11 losses. Melissa posted a record in conference play, Northern Illinois Iowa Conference, of 41-4 in her 3 years. She won 5 conference titles, 2 in singles and 3 in doubles. I don't know what she liked better, singles or doubles, but I do know she competed very hard in both, and I appreciate that from her. Melissa is a graduate of Dubuque Senior High School, where she competed in tennis, volleyball, and downhill skiing. Yes, downhill skiing at Sundown, which is west of town here. Melissa and her husband, Eric, helped the city of Loveland, Colorado, solidify a $500,000 grant, Safe Routes to School grant from the Colorado Department of Transportation to finish the sidewalk in honor of their son, Gavin, where their son, Gavin, was struck and killed by a drunk driver, I believe 3 years ago, is that right? Right, 3 years ago. The sidewalk will improve the safety and the soundness for pedestrians of all ages and disabilities for years to come. Melissa and her family worked very hard to get this done. This was a tragic situation, and they've spent countless hours, phone calls, times, letters, whatever, to get it done, and they got it done. That, again, shows you the commitment she has. If she sets her mind to something, she gets it done, and I appreciate that of her. Melissa and Eric are parents of Ashley Kratrick, Gavin Meyer, and Caden Myers. Melissa is the daughter of Wally and Marge Kratrick, and I know they're here, but I can't see them because of the glare. Wally's way up on top. Melissa received her Bachelor of Arts degree in Business Administration with an emphasis in marketing, and she's been employed by Factual Data since 2006. It's my privilege and, again, my honor, my esteemed honor, to introduce and bring Melissa to the stage for you folks. Oh, yeah. Melissa's nervous.
Well, good morning, almost afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm very nervous. I've had many speeches and many conversations over the years and introductions and readings, but this one was a really difficult one because I'm speaking about myself and the influencers in my life and where it's led me to today. So bear with me. Today is an incredibly emotional day for several reasons and on several levels. Thank you, Kurt, Kate, and everyone here at Clark. It is truly an honor being recognized and selected into the 2020, now 2021 class of the Clark University Athletics Hall of Fame. I'm humbled and honored to be standing here beside my fellow inductees. I would like to thank the Hall of Fame committee, Coach Arrington, for being my champion for so many years and presenting me today. Our assistant coaching staff, my teammates for sharing the court with me, the athletic trainers for keeping me healthy during matches, and finally, my first tennis instructor where it all began, Kim Walsh. This is an incredible honor and accomplishment I am cherishing with great pride. But without my supporting pillars of life, my parents, family, friends, my fellow alum, and staff who guided me without any obligations, I would never have been able to achieve this amazing accolade without you. Your ongoing support gave me the strength and the courage to pursue an education at Clark while participating in a lifelong sport that I love, all while raising a young daughter who's now 25 years old. I can't say thank you enough to express how grateful I am for each of you coming into my life and sharing this day with me today. You have each played a significant role in my life, and I would not be the person I am today without each and every one of you. You have taught me to embrace the good times, that you don't always have to be strong during the bad times. You are allowed to break down as long as you pick yourself back up and keep moving forward. It's days like today that serve as a reminder to appreciate each and every precious moment that you are given. To my fellow alum and underclass, don't lose sight of what it means to be part of a team or community like Clark University after you graduate. The lessons that you will learn and that I learned here from your own participation at Clark University will go far beyond the sport itself. I'd like to share these famous words from an American former world #1 tennis player, Andre Agassi, with the Clark community. Remember this, hold on to this. This is the only perfection there is, the perfection of helping others. This is the only thing that we can do that has lasting meaning. This is why we are here, to make each other feel safe. That quote resonated with me on several levels, especially over the last 3 years. On June 8, 2018, my 13-year-old son was struck and killed by a drunk driver while scootering walking home from a day of fishing with his friends. This day would be even more special if Gavin were here cheering me on, as he did for so many years during my USTA adult tennis matches. Since his tragic and untimely death, it has been my mission to advocate for Gavin and so many other victims left behind in our communities when given the opportunity. If you're at a special event, a game, or simply out to dinner, please make a plan for a ride home and don't get behind the wheel of a vehicle. Please don't drink and drive. One choice, one decision to drive drunk or drug could impact a family for a lifetime, as it did with our family. Please help keep our community safe, as our children deserve to celebrate and students deserve to celebrate a lifetime of milestones, as we are all sharing with our loved ones today during this Hall of Fame celebration. In closing, thank you again for recognizing our accomplishments on and off the court or field. This award will be an essential part of my life. It will motivate me for the rest of my future, always. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa and Rick. Introducing John O'Connor is John's son and former Clark student athlete Mike O'Connor.
Good morning, and thanks, Coach. As Coach mentioned, I'm Mike O'Connor, and I'm the son of John O'Connor, and I'm extremely honored to be here today with you at this great event and to help induct my dad into the Hall of Fame. It's great to be back on campus. It's great to see some familiar faces. Ardell, Mac, I see you up there. It's just like you're in class, back row, out of the sight. Before I share a few words about my dad, I would like to first recognize the group of inductees this year, congratulate you on this tremendous accomplishment. I'd also like to take a second and acknowledge those past athletes, coaches, and contributors that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame, including former teammates Jay Harris and Jerron Warner. Now a few words about my dad. When my dad shared with our family 3 or 4 months ago that he was being inducted to the Hall of Fame, self-admittedly, my first response, along with my brother and sisters, was, for what? For those of you that don't know, my dad didn't go to school here. He didn't play sports here. So if he didn't go to school here, if he didn't play sports here, what are you getting in for? And we started to talk about it, and we knew that my mom graduated from here. She wasn't going to get in. My Uncle Frank coached golf here years ago for the ladies' golf team. Maybe it was him. So finally, someone asked my dad, I think it was my sister or my brother, said, Dad, what are you getting in for? And he said, I'm getting in as a contributor. And then it started to make sense. I knew that my dad was very involved with the Clark College Holiday Basketball Tournament for many, many years. I also believe that my dad's probably been involved a lot here at Clark that many people outside of the Clark community don't know about. And in a nutshell, that's my dad. Always willing to help with his support, his encouragement, his advice, his words, his listening, and never really worried about the attention, the credit, or the gratitude that comes along with it. Quite frankly, the only thing I've ever known my dad to want attention for or credit for is a good golf shot or a good round of golf. And for those of you that haven't played with him, or those of you that have played with him, if you don't give him that credit, he's going to give it to himself, and you're going to hear about it for the next 6 holes. As a kid, I always looked up to my dad. I can't give you a specific reason why, other than that he was my dad. And when we're young, that's what most of us do. We look up to our fathers. As I've gotten older, I continue to look up to my dad. But now the difference is I have specific traits that I specifically admire about my dad and try to emulate in my own life. I'd like to share 4 of those traits that I admire most. Number 1 is my dad's wisdom. He's extremely smart. He's knowledgeable. He's got a great ability to know when to talk, but most importantly, to know when to listen. Number 2, how he treats people has always stood out to me, minus a few incidents with my siblings with a challenging reading lesson when they were very young, or a brief incident that the 2 of us had on the 4th hole at Dubuque Golf and Country Club when I was 9 during the father-son golf tournament, and a random incident at a random gas station in Scotland with the gas station clerk. I don't think I've ever witnessed my dad treat or speak to someone in a negative manner. Humility. My dad never takes himself too seriously. He's got a great ability to say, I don't know, or I was wrong, and he's never afraid to laugh at himself. And the last trait I admire most is the exact reason why I believe he's being inducted here today, and that's his willingness to give and help without the expectation of something in return. And that's a trait that I think has become exceedingly rare in this day and age of constant gratification and reward. Dad, today you're being inducted to the Hall of Fame, but to Mom, myself, Katie, Pat, John, the grandkids, you've always been a Hall of Fame person. And on behalf of Mom and myself and Katie and John and Pat and the grandkids, your son and daughters-in-law and the rest of your family, congratulations on this award, and we love you.
The scariest part, well, first of all, good morning to all of you. The scariest part about being inducted into a Hall of Fame is what your firstborn child may say about you. Michael, thank you very much for those kind words. Also, I'd like to acknowledge my siblings, family that were here today. Thank you much for making the effort to show up. That's very kind of you. Also to Clark and to the committee that nominated me, thank you very much. I appreciate the honor. I'm humiliated, or I'm humbled by the honor. You do what you need to do, and this is a great example to me, and I think one of the speakers earlier today mentioned it, that when you do something that you think is little, just helping out, that somebody else may think it's a big thing and want to acknowledge you for doing it, and I think that's what's going on today. But thank you very much for the honor. It is very much appreciated. To the other honorees today, please note, you are the athletes, not me. You all have awesome resumes. Just listening to the first three, and I'm sure the fourth will be as good or better than the first three. Hearing about you from your people that are introducing you, and then your stories yourself. They are motivating and heartwarming. So thank you for what you've done for the Clark community. In my life, when events happen, really big events happen, I remember where I was. And as an example, many of you in the audience are too young for some of this. But when President Kennedy was assassinated in '63, I remember exactly where I was. When O.J. Simpson was traveling down the highway in his white Bronco, I remember exactly where I was. When Princess Diana was killed in a car crash, I remember exactly where I was. And when I got a call from Kurt Long about the Hall of Fame, I remember exactly where I was. Now, those first three examples have something in common. They all related to death. Kurt's call wasn't death, thank goodness. That day that I got the call, normally in the afternoons, many afternoons I stop and I will play a few holes of golf, I'll hit some golf balls, or I'll putt. That particular day I was putting, and I noticed I missed a call on my cell phone. So I picked up my cell phone, got the call, and it was, John, this is Kurt Long. I just want you to know that you've been nominated into the Clark Athletic Hall of Fame, and I'd like to talk to you about it. Please give me a call. And I listened to the voicemail, and then I listened to it again. And I closed my phone and went back to putting, and I started thinking, okay, what's the spoof here? Which of my friends is spoofing me on this award? So finally I said, okay, I've got to call the number back on this cell phone to see who this was that was calling. So I call back, and lo and behold, Kurt answers. And I said, Kurt, I got this call from someone allegedly saying they were you, and that I was going to be inducted into the Athletic Hall of Fame. And Kurt goes, yeah, John, that's right. I want to talk to you about that. And I said, why? What did I do? And he proceeds to tell me of things that I had forgotten about in relationship to the Holiday Classic and my involvement in that. And I truly believe, as I said earlier, my involvement was small compared to others that were working at the Holiday Classic. And I listened, and I said, I really don't think I deserve this. And he said, oh, yes, you don't realize what you've done. So I said, okay, great, and I hung up. Went back to putting, and my immediate thought was, as you heard earlier by my son, was, okay, how am I going to tell Mary Beth, my wife, and my children about this award? And I said, I know they're not going to believe this. And as you heard from Michael, they did not believe it, and they had some very humorous texts back and forth about this award that brought a lot of fun, laughter to their family and special bonding. So that's a ancillary benefit of this award, so thank you for that, because we did draw a lot closer and had a lot of laughs. As all of the athletes today have indicated, they've thanked their coaches and their teammates, and I want to do the same. My coach is also my general manager, my president, my chairman of the board, my CEO, and my wife of 44 years. Now, as I was sitting up in my seat, I was saying, you know, I want to point her out to you. So I remember the State of the Union when the president is speaking in the House of Representatives, and he has to go up to the upper gallery to point out the people, and she's up there in the orange jacket. So Mary Beth, thank you. She does everything on the inside so I can do everything on the outside, except the lawn. I don't do lawn work. Mary Beth takes care of all that. But honey, I could not do what I did for Clark without the freedom I'm given by my spouse to do those types of activities and other activities I do. So I'm very appreciative, honey, very much. Thank you for allowing me to do what I do. And then to my teammates. How does a contributor have teammates? When I got involved in the Clark Classic had already been going for 2 or 3 years. The first meeting I attended, the other volunteers were there, and I specifically remember Diane and Tim Weitzel, C.J. Gantz, and there were 3 or 4 other people that I don't remember. They're responsible for the fundamental foundation of the Holiday Classic. They had it set up. They had the boxes you needed to check to get everything done. What I did with Kurt in his first year was worked with him in terms of how do we make this from a money-losing tournament into a break-even or a profit. And I think by the time we finished, we made a profit. So I made a few phone calls, made a few suggestions to Kirk. He did the rest of the work, and my teammates did all the work of running the Holiday Classic. The popcorn stand, the ticket booth, the hot dogs, helping teams get registered and at their hotels and all that. So it's another great example in my life, and I've had many of them, where other people have made me look good. And so I thank all those people, my coach, my teammates, and all those around me who work every day to do little things that somehow I end up getting not acknowledged for. I'm appreciative of it, but I'm humbled by it. And lastly, just to the student athletes again, remember, you're the real athletes that are being honored here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike and John. Introducing Jerry Zeiser is Jerry's former coach, Eric Fries.
It's an honor to be back here at Clark University. This will seem fairly short after you follow the O'Connors, just so you know, so it won't be real in depth. And John, just so you know, that holiday tournament used to ruin my Christmas break. But no, great memories back in the day of all that stuff. And obviously, hearing some of the stories and some of the remarks from the former athletes today brings back a lot of great memories. And it doesn't seem like that long ago watching you guys all compete here at Clark. And man, we cherish those times, and just an honor to be able to bring up Jerry Zeiser, former baseball player, here in a bit. Jerry was one of the best hitters that I ever had in my coaching career. Jerry, you can read through the accolades a little bit in the program, but Jerry has the most RBIs ever in a game, hit close to 380 for his career. One of the prettiest and nicest right-handed swings that I've ever had the honor to coach. The one thing that Jerry will remember this, most people probably won't, but Jerry played college baseball with the body of a 50-year-old. Jerry had more back issues and injuries probably than a lot of athletes back at the time. So for him to achieve this honor and to be inducted into the Hall of Fame with what he fought through, he was a super, super tough player, played hard all the time, even with all his injuries. And to do what he did with his career with the injuries at the time was a pretty fantastic honor. So obviously Jerry had a great career here. The cool thing that I kind of remember too is Jerry was part of a group that in 2003 achieved the first national ranking and regional ranking ever in the Clark baseball program history. Jerry was one of the few English speakers that we had at the time, so it was really a unique time and a cool time. And we talked earlier, and I think it was a really neat time for these players. We had players from the West Coast, we had players from Puerto Rico, we had Eastern Iowa players like Jerry. It was a really fun time here on campus and memories that we'll never forget. And it's my honor to bring to the stage class of 2003, Jerry Zeiser.
I've always enjoyed being at the end of the alphabet, sitting and waiting the whole time. And I hope to not disappoint Mr. O'Connor by cleaning up the ceremony. So we've had about 2 years to think about what I wanted to say. And it wasn't until about 3 weeks ago when I actually found the inspiration to talk about something. Kurt was texting me, trying to get some last-minute info. And he brought up the same thing that Coach Freeze just brought up, that those years that I was here, we had some really great teams and some really great players. And after that moment, it really kind of kicked off the ideas in my head. And I think it was Melissa that was saying, it's kind of hard to talk about yourself, so I'm just going to talk about all those great teammates that I had. To start off, like Coach Freeze was saying, when I showed up at Clark, I was pretty beat up. I had a previous back injury. I'd recently pulled a hamstring. My sprinting pace was about half a step faster than my walking pace, which was slowed down from my back injuries. So I wasn't moving around very well. And Cody also mentioned it. You know, he spent a lot of time in the training room, and I probably spent at least as much or more than Cody in the training room. I got to know the student trainers really well. I got to know Casey, the head trainer, and I was talking with Coach Freeze a little bit before the ceremony and asking where he was, wondering if he was still here. He said he ended up at Purdue, and he's pretty high up in the athletic training world there, and I'd like to think that I had a lot to do with that. But if it wasn't for the athletic trainers, then I may not even made it to the baseball field. But, I'd also like to thank Coach Freeze, who's, he's an amazing coach. I showed up not only physically kind of broken, but, as a baseball player, my mechanics weren't quite working the way they should have been. And I remember it was, the first fall I was here, he came up to me and, just gave me like a quick hitting tip. And then from then on, it was like night and day. I think that was what turned my career around at Clark. And I hadn't even played a real game yet. And, he has that eye for talent. I think he used to be a scout for some major league team. I have to ask him about that. But, he's got that eye for talent. He knows how to fix, a player that needs help. And he's just a great coach. And, a lot of the things that I achieved, I probably wouldn't have achieved with any other coach than Coach Freeze. So I'd also like to thank, a lot of the players that I played with. Like he mentioned, in 2003, we had a national ranking, and it wasn't just because of me. We had a lot of great players, a lot of great talent. The year before, I think, was, we didn't have the team success. We didn't have the best record of all the years I was here, but I think that year before was more fun. I got to play with the Clark stolen base king, Jake Kaiser, who stole as many bases as he could, as fast as he could. Nicky Ortiz was not that far behind him. Both these guys were batting, the top of the order. And then between them and me was our home run king, Kyle Van Fleet, who he's probably the only guy that's ever scared the bejesus out of me with a ground ball in batting practice. That guy could, if you're looking for some Hall of Famers, Jake Kaiser and Kyle Van Fleet and others, they really knew how to play baseball. They may not have stayed here as long. They were only a couple years, but there's a lot of great talent, and those are just to name a few. And when you're playing around a lot of great players like that, like guys that get on base and just steal bases like it's their job, it puts a lot of pressure on the opposing pitcher. And so when you got guys on base like that, it's really easy for you to just stand up there, wait for the pitcher to make a mistake, and then, collect your RBIs. And that year before 2003, 2002, Kyle Van Fleet, I think, might have the record for RBIs in a season, and I wasn't that far behind him because Kyle and I were chemistry majors, so we spent a lot of time together. When he didn't have the RBIs, if he got out, then I was the one coming up right behind him. And so that year was a really fun year. I also got to play with, another Hall of Famer, another Clark Hall of Famer, Danny Matias, who he became a really good friend. He owns just about every record in the Clark baseball record books. And I really got to like Danny, and playing with Danny was a lot of fun. He was one of those Puerto Ricans that have that Puerto Rican baseball attitude, where every baseball game there is a party. Everybody is upbeat and it's loud, and I really enjoyed playing with Danny and a lot of the other Puerto Ricans. Karib is one of the ones who I became really good friends with, and it's those group of guys that lift you up when you're around a lot of really great talent. A lot of really great athletes. You're kind of forced to step up your game, and there's a lot of the pushing and pulling. We'd push each other to get better and pull each other up when we were down, and those were a lot of my great memories, is playing with that great group of guys. And Kurt hit it right on the head. That was perfect. What he said to me is that was a great group of people with a lot of talent, a lot of great guys. And then I'd also, obviously I need to thank my family. They're all sitting right there in the middle. I'm not who I am without them. And so I'm kind of, I like to think of myself as a sculpture, and they've all carved out their own little piece and created who I am today. Especially, well, I could tell hours and hours of stories about how my family had helped me get to Clark and helped me to be the person that I am today. And I need to thank my mom and dad. Everything I have came from them. They're completely different people, my mom and my dad. I like to think I get my brawn from my dad and my brains from my mom. And but they both had the same message in a different format. I remember going to a Little League game, and my dad, he's trying to teach me stuff, and he's talking about the mentality you need to have, when you're at the plate. And that's, you can't be afraid of the pitcher. You gotta, always think you're better than that guy. Don't ever let him beat you. And then, my mom, she's kind of the bookworm of the family, and she, said it a little more poetic. She always used to tell me, hold your head up high, look the world in the eye, and never be afraid. And, it's that mentality, that no matter what you're faced with, you always got to think that you're going to get through it, that you're going to beat that obstacle in front of you. And, that's kind of what drives me to do what I do. That's what, showing up at Clark in pretty bad shape. You know, it's kind of the mentality you have to get over your injuries, to work hard, and to get through and achieve what you want to achieve. And then, you know, finally, I'd just like to thank God for all of the people that I've been surrounded with. And, you know, I couldn't ask to be around, you know, a better team than all of the people that were around me at Clark, you know, with the athletic trainers, the coaches, the players, and my family. So, thank you.
Thank you, Eric and Jerry. The Hall of Fame display can be viewed in the rotunda area of the Kiel Center. The name of each inductee with the year of induction is inscribed and displayed on banners attached to the columns in the Kiel Center. Each banner represents one induction year. Today you'll be able to see 10 banners with a total of 49 inductees. The Hall of Fame will continue to grow over time, and we are especially proud of this class and each new inductee. To conclude our ceremony, I would like to thank each of our inductees and their contributor, and our contributor, John, to the Hall of Fame at Clark. Each of you holds a special place in the history of Clark University. At this time, we invite the Hall of Famers, introducers, families, and friends to the tailgate at Burroughs Field. After you've had a chance to eat something, we will give you that trolley ride to Dalzell and recognize the inductees and introducers at halftime. Thank you all.